Welcome, curious minds, to another deep dive. Today, we're embarking on a really fascinating journey. We're going thousands of years back and then right up to today, all to unravel the genetic tapestry of a truly vibrant nation, Malaysia. Now, you might have heard whispers, maybe even wondered yourself, is there like a specific Malaysia gene?
Yeah, it's a really compelling question people ask. And the short answer, well, it's usually no in human genetics, right? Not one single switch, not a uniform block of code.
Okay.
What we actually find when we look closer, when we really zoom in, is something much more intricate and, frankly, I think more special. It's a unique genetic mix.
A mix.
Exactly. And it tells a story of deep hunter-gatherer roots going way back, then later waves of, farmers, sailors, centuries of trade connecting everything.
And geography must play a huge part.
Oh, absolutely. The islands, the river mouths, those dense rainforests, they really shaped who met whom, who mixed, who had children. And that's why Malaysia's genetic landscape looks so layered. Not uniform at all, like geology almost.
Layered. I like that. Like a richly embroidered cloth, maybe, different threads woven over time.
That's a great way to put it.
So our mission today is to explore these layers, understand the forces that shape them, and see what surprising insights pop up, even for things like modern health.
Right.
So let's dive in. Let's piece together those ancient migrations first. Okay, imagine three distinct stories, different journeys, all converging on the same peninsula, each leaving a mark we can still read in DNA today. This is where the deep dive really starts, right? The beginning of human presence there.
Yes, exactly. So story A, let's call it, the first one. This is about the earliest inhabitants. We're talking small, ancient forager groups.
The Orang Asli.
Precisely. Collectively known as Orang Asli today, but encompassing groups like the Semang, often referred to as Negrito, the Sonoy, and Proto-Malay groups. And the genomics here is pretty profound.
How so?
Well, the Semang Negrito communities, for instance, they show the deepest genetic split from other groups in the region.
Okay, deepest genetic split. What does that really mean for us? Like, in simple terms?
It's crucial. It means their genetic line branched off from other major human populations much, much earlier. We're talking maybe 50,000 to 33,000 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, it connects them to Papuan-related lineages. It marks them as some of the very first settlers on the peninsula. And what's really amazing is their genes still carry echoes of those first major human migrations out of Africa.
So they were there for an incredibly long time, adapting to the rainforests.
That's right, long before anyone else arrived. The original architects, you could say.
That's just mind-boggling, tens of thousands of years. Okay, so they're the first layer. These ancient forest dwellers. What came next?
All right, next up is story B. This brings a big shift. The arrival of race farmers.
Oh, agriculture.
Yes, speakers of Austroasiatic languages. They started moving into the peninsula, maybe from areas like modern northern Vietnam or Laos. Perhaps around 4,000, 5,000 years ago.
Was it like an invasion?
Not really, no. More gradual. They brought this new lifestyle, settled farming, and crucially, they didn't just replace the hunter-gatherers already there, they mixed.
They mixed?
They mixed. You see their genetic legacy pretty strongly in many Sonoy groups today, for example. And ancient DNA studies, well, they consistently confirm these pulses of farmers coming in. It supports what researchers call a multi-wave model now.
Okay, you mentioned multi-wave versus two-layer earlier. What's the difference there? Why does it matter?
Great question. It shows how science evolves, right? The two-layer idea was simpler. First hunter-gatherers, then one big wave of farmers replacing them. Kind of neat.
Tidier, yeah.
But ancient DNA, pulling genes from actual ancient bones, shows it was messier, more nuanced, not just one farmer wave, but multiple pulses, different groups, and lots of admixtures mixing with the existing hunter-gatherers, the Hoabinians.
So continuous interaction.
Exactly. Sites like Wat Cha and Kelantan really confirm this. It was a much more complex, drawn-out process, a richer story, really.
Okay, so we have the original foragers, then these waves of Austroasiatic farmers.
Yeah.
But there's a third big story, right? Story C.
Yes. Much later, another really impactful wave arrives. The Austronesian speakers. Seafarers.
The sailors.
The sailors. Highly sophisticated maritime people, Masters of boat travel, navigation, spreading all along the coasts, the islands. I mean, they reached Madagascar, Easter Island.
Incredible range.
Absolutely. And this genetic thread, it's very prominent in Proto-Malay groups and in many Malay people today. It reflects that coastal expansion, dominance in sea trade. Genome studies of modern Malays actually pick up multiple components, Austronesian, yes, but also Proto-Malay, East Asian, and even a noticeable South Asian slice.
South Asian, too, from trade.
So centers of trade, intermarriage. The peninsula was a real crossroads.
This layering is just incredible. It makes you wonder, did culture spread mainly by new people arriving, or did local people just adopt new ideas? What does the ancient DNA suggest?
Ah, the classic question. Was it the ideas or the people? Ancient DNA suggests, well, both, often at the same time. Sometimes you clearly see the farmer's genes arrive with the farming techniques. New people, new culture. But other times, genetic studies show existing groups adopted farming, even new languages, without a huge genetic shift. So the ideas spread maybe faster than the people.
And Malaysia?
Malaysia looks like a prime example of sustained mixing. Both happened. Ideas like rice farming were carried in and adopted by locals. It's blending, interaction, not simple replacement.
The dynamic interplay.
Yeah.
Okay, so taking all this history, all this migration and mixing, what does it actually look like when researchers scan Malay genomes today? What's the picture at the molecular level?
Right. Well, they definitely don't see one solid block of color, genetically speaking. No uniform signature. Instead, it's clear, measurable evidence of admixture.
Admixture, like mixing.
Exactly. A rich mosaic. Think of it like a layered painting where you can still see the brushstrokes from different times, different origins, or maybe different rivers flowing into one big estuary.
Okay, I like that. You can still trace the different waters, but they're all blended.
That's pretty much it for genomes. You can still discern and quantify these distinct ancestral components.
So what are some of those components, those rivers in the Malay mosaic?
Well, as we touched on, a big analysis across Malaysians, Singaporeans, Indonesians, even Sri Lankan Malays found those main ones. You've got the deep indigenous or Proto-Malay bits from the really ancient groups.
Right.
Then that strong Austronesian signal from the seafarers. There's also a clear East Asian component, think historical links to southern China. And then what's really fascinating is that significant South Asian genetic signal.
And you said that lines up with history.
Perfectly. That South Asian bit is strongest in certain northern and east coast areas of Malaysia, which is exactly where historical records show major trade routes, centuries of ties with India. It's like the genes are drawing a historical map for us.
Wow. DNA confirming ancient trade routes. That's incredible. But it does bring up a tricky point, doesn't it? If the genes show these deep links, India, China, Arabia, the Orang Asli, how should history be taught? Should education be more open about this?
It's a really important conversation.
Or does that risk, boiling identity down to percentages, simplifying things too much?
It's absolutely a challenge. On one hand, the science gives this powerful, evidence-based story of shared heritage, deep connections. It can foster a more inclusive identity, showing nobody exists in a vacuum.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, identity is so much more than genes, right? It's culture, language, spirituality, personal feeling. The danger is oversimplification, or worse, misusing the data to create divisions or reduce rich cultures to just biology.
So it needs careful handling.
Very careful, sensitive communication. The goal should be to enrich understanding, show interconnectedness without erasing cherished cultural distinctions.
That makes sense. And it's not just history class, is it? These ancient journeys, these layers, they've left marks in our blood, literally, influencing health today.
Absolutely. This is where the clinic really meets the past. We see evolution's fingerprint, especially from diseases like malaria, right there in Malaysian bloodlines. These aren't just curiosities, they're genetic edits impacting public health right now.
Okay, so what kind of edits are we talking about?
Two really significant ones are hemoglobin E, HbE, and various types of thalassemia. You might know the HbE triangle, Thailand, Laos, Cambodia.
Yeah, where it's super common.
Right. Frequencies can hit like 60% there. Malaysia sits right on the edge of that zone. So HbE trait and disease are much more common in the northern and eastern states bordering Thailand. Makes sense geographically.
Okay.
And across Malaysia overall, about 6.8% of people are estimated to be thalassemia carriers. Now, 6.8% might sound small.
But in a population of millions.
Exactly. It translates to hundreds of thousands of carriers and a huge number of cases for clinics dealing with the severe forms. It really highlights why screening and genetic counseling are so vital.
Okay, HbE and thalassemia. Are there others?
Yes, another really important one is G6PD deficiency. Glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase deficiency, it's an enzyme issue, makes red blood cells fragile, vulnerable to certain drugs, infections, even fava beans.
Right, I've heard of that.
Well, a recent study just on Sonoy or Orang Asli communities found, get this, 15.2% had deficient or intermediate G6PD activity. Nearly 10% were clearly deficient.
Wow, that's high.
It is. Earlier research found around 9% in Negrito groups. One subgroup even hit 28%. These are really significant numbers for something that can cause dangerous jaundice in newborns, severe anemia, bad drug reactions if it's not known. It's a strong argument for targeted screening.
So why? Why these specific edits in the blood? Why did these vulnerabilities become so common?
Evolution. Plain and simple. Malaria.
Malaria was the driving force.
A huge driving force. It's been a relentless killer in tropical regions forever. So it strongly favored these tiny genetic changes, HBE, the thalassemia, some G6PD variants, because having one copy offered some protection against dying from malaria as a child.
Survival advantage.
Exactly. If you carried one copy, you were more likely to survive malaria, have kids, but there's always a trade-off in evolution.
The compromise.
The compromise. What helped in the past, if you inherit two copies or in combination with other things, can cause serious health problems today. It's nature's messy survival calculation, not a perfect fix.
A genetic double-edged sword. That makes a lot of sense. And this whole picture, the layers, the complexity, it's not just theory anymore, is it? Ancient DNA, like you said, has been a game changer. It lets us actually see these layers.
Totally. The evidence is just undeniable now. Genomes from archaeological sites like Guacha and Kelantan and others, they've clearly shown that the ancient Hobbinian hunter-gatherers,
With their unique stone tools.
right, they were genetically distinct from the farmers who arrived later. It confirms Malaysia didn't just get wiped clean and repopulated, it was continuous layering, integration.
Foragers, then farmers, then sailors.
Each leaving a genetic slice you can still pick out today. The peninsula is like a genetic palimpsest.
A palimpsest, where you can see the old writing underneath the new.
Exactly. You can still read those older sentences, the ancient inscriptions under the newest ink, thousands of years of human story all layered together.
That's a perfect metaphor. And thinking about these layers, it does bring up some ongoing conversations, doesn't it? Stemming from this complex story, especially around identity and health.
It does. These aren't just science questions, they're societal ones too. Like, take the labels for the earliest groups. Negrito is still used sometimes in science, reflecting older ways of classifying.
But communities prefer their own names.
Understandably, yes. Many prefer specific names like Jahai, Batek, Kensiu, Lano. It reflects their unique identity. So, how do researchers and communicators balance that? Scientific shorthand versus community respect and self-identification. It needs dialogue, humility.
That's a really important point about respect. And shifting to health again. If thalassemia and G6PD are so common in some communities, what about screening? Should it be more aggressive, like premarital or school screening?
The public health dilemma.
Or is purely voluntary better to avoid stigma? It's tricky.
It's really delicate. On one hand, comprehensive screening could massively improve health. Identify carriers, allow for counseling, informed choices, prevent a lot of suffering from severe disease.
But the potential downside
Is stigma, discrimination. If it's mandatory or pushed too hard without proper education and support, it can backfire badly. The ideal is probably a strong voluntary program, but with massive, culturally sensitive education, ensuring informed consent, and strong support systems.
Informed consent and community buy-in sound key. Okay, last thought on the overall story. We talked about two-layer versus multi-wave, the simpler versus the messier but more accurate picture from ancient DNA. As an expert, which narrative resonates more?
Well, as a scientist, you're always drawn to what the evidence actually shows, right? However complex. The two-layer model is neat, easy to grasp. But the multi-wave picture, even if it seems messier initially, is just far more truthful and I think more captivating. It reflects the sheer dynamism of human history, constant movement, interaction, adaptation. It tells a richer story of integration, blending, not just replacement. It speaks to resilience, interconnectedness. That's way more insightful to me.
So, circling all the way back to our first question.
Yeah.
No single special gene from Malaysia.
Nope.
But instead, something maybe more profound. A truly special, globally unique genetic pattern. A story told in DNA.
That's exactly it. A testament to ancient foragers deep in the rainforest, farmers migrating down from the north, those incredible sailors arriving on the coasts, and then centuries of traders, migrants adding threads from India, China, Arabia, elsewhere.
Malaria left its mark.
Undeniably, shaping genes that still matter today. Culture drew lines, but also opened doors. Trade forged connections. That's why you have both deep-time Orang Asli lineages and this modern Malay genetic mosaic in the same country.
And it's why those numbers, 6.8% thalassemia carriers, that 15% G6PD figure in the Sonoy study, HBE near 60% in border areas, why they still matter so much in clinics today.
Precisely. This deep dive just shows the story of us, humans, our migrations, our adaptations. It's never simple. But understanding those overlapping layers of our shared past, that's often where the most important insights lie.
So for you, our listener, maybe consider this. How might understanding your own family's story migrations, maybe ancestral health patterns, offer a new way to see your own place in the world? Could it connect you to stories far older, far wider than you ever imagined? Perhaps there's an echo of ancient journeys in your own genes. That's all for this deep dive. Keep exploring.